Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. In today's episode, we're going to be studying a piece by the career multimedia artist known as Bryn Jones, and in this episode, we're going to be looking at nature as a place to reflect and recharge. We're also going to meet one of the newest characters created by Jones himself, so let's jump right into it. So at first sight, we're met face to face with the lone warrior Dofu Ikioto laying amongst countless blooms. When we first see this work, we just begin to wonder what exactly is happening here, and so the placement of our subject center certainly denotes him as the main focus of the work at hand. We see this further reinforced primarily by a light on dark accent. Of course, disrupting those blossoms is going to make his form impossible to miss here. And within this work, one of the first things I notice is the smooth nature of our subject's form, right? It is quite minimalist, it is abstract, but it is realistic enough to know exactly what is happening here. Of course, the nature of this is very stylistic, right? I looked at a lot of the artist profile, and across his portfolio, you see a lot of this minimalism, but just enough to exactly know what is happening. So there's an amazing sense of balance between that minimalism and the realism within the work at hand. Of course, colors within this composition really consist of red and blue, right? Pink is a lighter variant of red. And aside from this, we do have white and gold as well. Of course, the nature of red and blue are pretty close to a complementary scheme, so I'm going to give a sense of energy to the composition while also kind of fighting for the viewer's attention. I think that's pretty important here. Of course, you may notice how the presence of all these different flowers give a sense of energy to the work at hand, right? This is the result of what we call visual rhythm. Of course, it is not evenly spaced or anything like that. It is quite chaotic, but not in a negative way. It gives a sense of energy to the composition and kind of excites the visual experience. I think we certainly see that here, especially alongside the color that we just briefly mentioned. With this in mind, how do y'all feel when you view this piece? So we see our lone subject laying on his back, staring high towards the heavens. Dofu Ikioto is a character first announced in April of 2023 and has since become a mainstay of the original artist portfolio. I have some additional pieces from the original artist featuring our lone character here. I'm going to bring that in real quick and see what we can learn. Alright, so I brought in two additional works from the original artist Bryn Jones to give some insights on the original character before us. So, Dofu Ikioto is a warrior, and we see this quite clearly, right? He has weapons, and he wears armor most reminiscent of the Japanese samurai. We'll talk a bit about that here in a second, but this work on the right was the first time we ever saw this character. This debuted in April of this year, so 2023, and has since, like I said, become a mainstay of the original artist portfolio. This is really a main character that people would start to associate with the original artist. I think there is no doubt about that. So say we have the warrior on the right, and in the work before us, a lot more natural themes. So I brought in an additional work to kind of complement those natural themes there. So all in all, this original character, if you see this cat with the horns, you're definitely know it's coming from the original artist Bryn Jones. I think there's no doubt about that. So I just wanted to bring that in real quick and briefly talk a bit more about the original character that we're seeing here. So yeah, that was Dofu Ikioto. He has been featured in about a dozen of the artist's works at least since April, so this will definitely become a very iconic character from Bryn Jones. And so the presence of all these natural themes within the composition certainly reminds us of the necessity of the natural realm. One may even find this site reminiscent of the Elysian Fields, which of course is a very symbolic site for the highest of heroes. And the artist actually had an original quote here. I'm going to bring it in real quick and give some insights on what exactly is happening within the work before us. Alright, so I brought a quick quote from the original artist here to give some insights on what exactly is happening within this work. The artist says, quote, Dofu laid in the bed and the pain from the battlefield faded to dust, pain into pollen. When his body comes ready, he would get back up and prepare. So he is clearly wounded in some way or another, and he appears to be laying in these blossoms to heal, of course, pain into pollen. So just want to bring that in real quick. Dofu is clearly wounded, and we're going to talk a bit more about that here in a second. So Dofu is clearly a warrior as denoted by both the artist and the heavy armor which he wears. And of course his armor is most reminiscent of the Japanese samurai, which saw their hides during the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries respectively. Of course, now is one of the most iconic symbols of a warrior that we know of, so it makes sense that the artist used and gave the original character some samurai armor. I think that makes a lot of sense, right? And so despite our subject's power, he has been wounded enough to require rest. He lays in the flower blossom, and of course his spirit is revitalized and his worries turn from, quote, pain into pollen. It's hard to say exactly what's next for Dofu, but regardless of that, he has saved the village once and he's not afraid to do it once more. So the work before us is profound. I absolutely love the beauty and the symbolism of the piece before us. And it is a digital render, so it's created with a digital rendering program. That program is going to be Blender. Blender has an incredibly high skill ceiling. I know everyone from professionals to amateurs, everyone alike are using Blender to create their renders. And some people actually prefer it over Cinema 4D due to its open source nature. So if y'all are kind of getting into the world of 3D art, you want to create your own renders, I would certainly suggest Blender. It's an amazing place to start. And all in all, the realism of the digital render is incredibly important here, right? We have those very complex shadows, and even though the artist has quite a bit of, say, minimalist or smooth style that he uses, the render is incredibly important to give us the realism which stands before us. So this is a profound, very stunning and beautiful piece. I really hope y'all enjoy it today. We talked about so many different things from, say, the minimalism here, the natural themes present within this work, say, samurai armor, some bit of history of that. So many different things we hit on today. I truly hope y'all enjoyed. Of course, our subject is healing within nature, so it's one of the most important themes that were offered here is the natural realm. So like I said, I really hope y'all enjoyed today. And if y'all did, go check out the original artist, Bryn Jones. He's doing some amazing stuff in both 3D art, of course, digital renders, as well as digital illustration as well. So, like I said, if y'all enjoyed today, go check out the original artist, Bryn Jones. My name's Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.